All right, welcome everybody to another edition of Tennis Channel Inside In. This is a bonus show. We're not dropping this on Thursday. This is coming out the weekend of Roland Garros, Mitch Michals, Santa Monica Studios. I don't bring out two guests a lot of times, so this is a special one. We got Knowles, Brett Connors, straight from calling and producing tennis. We were all over the grounds of the clay court season. The final lead up to Roland Garros, gentlemen. Hardest working guys in the building for sure today, but Mark and Brett, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having us on, Mitch.
How are you, Money?
I'm excited to be alongside BC for this one.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm happy. I'm excited.
This is a draw show, and again, we got the paper trail of we were setting this up before all the chaos broke down. Mark, I want to start with you, though, as the only person I think that I've seen today that's won the French Open before was from Roland Garros. Going into like a draw and going into this day, is there any feeling of anxiety, excitement? I know players and like yourself, you've told me that you don't really look ahead. It's always one match at a time. But that first draw and that ceremony, what kind of goes through the player's mind on a day like today?
Oh, yeah, there's so much excitement. I mean, I think the excitement starts at the start of the week, right? Whether you're playing in the lead up or whether you're on site practicing, right? Everybody's kind of aware, when are the seeds going to be made? When is the draw going to get made? And when it comes out, right, there's an extra buzz around the grounds. And I think especially this year, right? Obviously, the floating danger was Rafael Nadal. We all wanted to know where he would end up, 14-time champion. So, it's all part of the excitement, right? It's all the excitement. Now the draw's out. Now it's like, do you stare at a guy when you walk by him in the hallway if you play him, or do you walk the other way? You give him a little shoulder bump. Like, all things are in play now.
Right. Mind games begin.
On a day like today, I wonder if you feel like guilty if you have a really good draw, or if in your mind you think it's a good draw. You're just like, oh, well, that guy might not have been as lucky as me. In the case of the Zverev-Nadal thing, that's it was the elephant in the room. Now it's like really out there that Nadal could play anyone. Brett draws Alexander Zverev. The guy that just won Rome, he got the number 4 seed, has his own section of the draw now, is playing arguably the best clay court tennis we've ever seen him play. And that's who Rafael Nadal gets, the 14-time champion, 112-3 at Roland Garros, looking like his final tournament, and he draws that guy.
Right. I mean, besides Djokovic, you could that be almost the most surprising person he could get. He's playing the best tennis, winning Rome. And you think back 2 years ago when he last left the court with that injury, and that epic, 3 hours to play only 2 sets against Rafa. But, yeah, I was surprised. We were getting ready to come on air, and I walked in the room, and Wes, who we work with, said, Zverev is playing Nadal. My mouth hit the floor, of course, like everybody else's. But it's surprising. It's a bummer because we're going to lose one good storyline either way. It's fun these couple of days, but then after Monday or Tuesday or whenever it is, it's...
Yeah, from that perspective, Mark, when you look at as the fan side of things, there's a push-pull of like we want better first-round matchups, but then what Brett said also rings true. We get a great first-round matchup, but, yeah, we've got 2 weeks left, and one of these guys isn't going to be here.
Yeah, it's a tough one, right? I mean, it's interesting. Obviously, there was a lot of talk leading up to it, right? Would Rafael Nadal get seeded, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously, I'm on the board of the ATP. We actually don't have a Grand Slam agreement presently with the majors, right? The agreement generally states that they have to follow the ATP rankings. Since that agreement expired, they have followed the rankings. All the majors have. So we were expecting that. But obviously, this is a unique case. Mm-hmm. You're talking about a guy who absolutely owns the place, right? He's a 14-time major champion. He's looked pretty solid on the clay. Obviously, hasn't looked at the heights that we're used to, but he is Rafael Nadal, right? He's capable of things that most humans aren't. But the word is from the Nadal camp, he didn't want to be seated, right? Rafa, he's such a fair guy. This is when I'm ranked. This is where I deserve to be, which doesn't surprise you, right? He's such a classy champion. But it begs the question that Brett just mentioned, right? Like, should he have been seated? Maybe, maybe not, right? I mean, it's better you don't have the controversy, right, with ATP and the slams. But this is unfortunately is the fallout, right? It's a draw. If you're not seated, you can play anybody. And man, it's weird how things work out. It really is, because you mentioned the 22 match. I mean, think about it from Sasha's standpoint, right? He was playing well enough to win that match.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe he goes on and wins the tournament, and then I think he was one match away from being number 1 in the world ultimately.
Yeah.
Like, his life could have been totally different the last 2 years. So great for Sasha that he's now back, and he's now one of the favorites.
They went 3 hours, and they weren't even done with the second set. It was an unbelievable fight in that match. We'll see. And, yeah, I wanted to also point out that also goes past the agreement, that insight that you had. It's no longer. I remember the Wimbledon had the formula that they would use to seed players. So I like the arbitrary method of doing it. It's unfortunate given this is a unique circumstance with a guy ranked this high. Poses the question going into this match where he is a sizable underdog as Nadal, and deservedly so, Brett. But, and I know I'm maybe playing devil's advocate or just wishful thinking, but is there a scenario where you could see this maybe being better for him to get him early, round one, versus how it would be 4 or 5 matches in?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you're going to get Rafa probably at his freshest, and he's raring and ready to go. And in the past, Zverev has had some struggles early in slams, going like 4 or 5 sets with guys maybe he shouldn't. So maybe catches him laxing a little bit and thinking about the matchup and am I going to be the guy who's going to beat him in his last match? That's that's a lot of stuff going on. And the demons of coming back from the injury. The last time I played this guy here, I went down. I had to come off in crutches. But, he's a big favorite, like minus 375, minus 400. That's like 78, 79%. That's
another thing that's crazy, right? You look at a number on clay, but at Roland Garros and seeing that big plus by Nadal as an underdog.
As a guy who's only lost, 3 times there?
3 times.
Yeah, I got to disagree with that because, like I said, Rafa is part of that group of superhumans, right? So, and I think that's a valid point. I mean, for Rafa, one thing is he's going to have, these 12, 14 days that he's had leading in to make sure his body's as good as it possibly can be. Mm-hmm. Of course, we're not sure, what the peak is for him physically, but he's got all that lead in. He won't have any, excessive wear and tear on the tires for the event. So I wouldn't have those odds. I wouldn't be betting against Rafael Nadal with those odds. No chance.
Yeah, it's a unique situation for sure, and poses the question going forward what Nadal's future in tennis is, Brett, because he hasn't officially said much of anything in terms of this is definitively it. So we'll see what the level is, but it's a brutal first round matchup for Zverev too. Yeah. Last thing on this matchup, and I know we're giving Nadal more of a chance than I think the odds makers are. But how do you guys see what Nadal can do? He's, not the Nadal that he was. I think that's fair to say. But where can he play better? Where can he attack? Where can he find success in this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it comes down to defensive skills, right? Mm-hmm. Which obviously has been a hallmark of Rafael Nadal, especially on this surface. But that's the problem, right? We don't know how strong he is physically, how much he can make this a physical match. And, Sasha's playing great tennis. It's interesting for me, especially because, honestly, prior to Rome, I actually had Sasha as my guy to win the tournament. Now it looks like, oh, duh. But, I honestly did. I really felt he was rounding into form. He's kind of figured out the second serve issues, got a great first serve, moves well, great backhand. I mean, it's tough when you try to break it down, where I mean, obviously, normally it's the physical side. It's the 3 out of 5 side for Rafael Nadal on this surface. But Zverev is one of those guys that he can go all day as well. And Brett, I just don't necessarily think Nadal has had any one area of his game that just completely fallen off. But like Mark knows, like you lose a couple percentage here of this, a couple percentage that, it adds up. And the players are getting better and rounding into form themselves. So I don't think there's any one glaring weakness. It's just a very tough sport to master at the top.
Yeah, it seems like match play when you don't have it. It's something you can't simulate or practice and get into. Zverev's got that good backhand. He's tall. Saw Nadal's forehand that goes up to his backhand. He can kind of get to that. It seems like when I watched Nadal last week, it was his footwork. Mm-hmm. You can tell like at a couple times, like he's got such good footwork normally. He takes those extra little steps to get himself into position to hit his shots. And sometimes he was kind of reaching or kind of doing some of that. And I think that's just lack of match play. But Zverev has lost in the last month or so to guys like, Cerundolo beat him. And in Madrid, and Christian Garin beat him in Munich. Those are 2 out of 3. Those are smaller tournaments. I get it. It's not a slam, but it's not like, he's some untouchable guy. He played well in Rome, won Rome, So, I mean, I don't count Rafa out as having a chance.
Well, as we kind of look at, the bigger picture of this tournament, fellas, I'll ask it this way, and it's just a question I haven't been able to ask in the last however many years. But how deep do you think this talent pool of realistic winning contenders are? Are we going into like 5, 6, 7 guys can win the French Open?
Easy. Wow. Easy, we're getting into 6, 7.
Okay.
I mean, think about that, right? I mean, off the top, you've obviously got Novak, Alcaraz, Sinner.
Yeah.
I mean, off the top. But then, you've got another wave. Zverev, Casper Ruud, 2-time finalist there, one of the best players on clay since 2020, the start of the season.
Tsitsipas, would you put in there?
Tsitsipas, obviously a really good player. He's made the finals, been up 2-0. I mean, he's got a chance. And listen, I mean, who knows, right? I mean, Taylor Fritz is playing some good tennis. I know he lost this week. I personally wouldn't have had him playing this week. I know it was tough for him, week off, you're American in Paris, whatever. But he was playing so well on the clay. I just think it goes more because if a couple guys get hurt.
Rublev, wow.
What about,
yeah.
Don't forget,
likes
somebody like Holger Rune. If he gets deep in the tournament, he's got the belief that he could win.
And
Why
he's
is
in
it
that,
not my time?
And he's in that Nadal, Zverev, Medvedev is the 5 seed there section. That's just chaos, the whole region there.
So no, I think it's 7 or 8. I really do.
I don't necessarily disagree. It's just so jarring to hear that because how many times was it like 1.5, 2?
It's been a long time.
It's like 2, 2.5.
Right.
It's like, okay.
And then, by the way, don't forget about Rafa, right?
Yeah.
He starts playing well, the body cooperates. I think he knows how to navigate his way around.
Yeah, they got that good cryo chamber there too, so we'll get into that. No, Brett, I mean, I see it very similar. I don't know if I'd go all the way up to 8 or 9, but easily 6 to 7 are in the mix.
Yeah, I mean, and if somebody gets upset, one of the favorites, because we put Sinner Alcaraz there, we don't know exactly how they're playing. They missed Rome, but they could also just turn it on and be there. That wouldn't surprise you either. But yeah, I think 6, 7. It starts to thin. Like Rune, I like long term as a pro. He's kind of up and down right now, but he could get hot. He likes the clay. Medvedev, I don't know. He doesn't like the dirt so much, especially the slow dirt.
Because whenever we have these discussions and it's like, I don't know who's going to win. This is crazy. I'm not sure. He's usually the guy that just, okay, I'll go to the semis then. Like his baseline tennis, like in the sense of, metaphorically, it's just so solid that he's usually like the guy that will step up if nobody else will.
Yeah.
So that being said, I did want to go to Novak Djokovic, the defending champ, who has to get to the final to retain his #1 ranking. Playing in Geneva into the semifinals. You guys were working on his match today, beating Griekspoor, a very impressive win there. But Mark, looking at what Novak has in this draw, which appears pretty favorable for him, avoiding a lot of the chaos, I think this is a pretty ideal scenario. Also, given that he's playing right now, getting the match reps in, I think this is about as good as Novak could have dreamed for. He's coming off of at least 1 or 2 more tough matches in Geneva, and then he can kind of gear up and ramp up his Roland Garros run.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, looking at the draw, you never know what happens, but I think he'll be very pleased with what lies in front of him, right? You look at, Tommy Paul is the seed in the round of 16s, Casper Ruud or Taylor Fritz in the quarters. Those are all, if those come to fruition, those are all matches that, you definitely really like Novak. This week we've covered a couple of matches for him. He still hasn't looked like prime Novak. Part of the reason why he entered. You can't replicate that in practice. He's trying to get to the feeling where, making the right decision on the big points, the big moments, which has been lacking so far in 24 for him, which is a big surprise, right? It's been a long time since we've seen that. Similar to the Nadal odds. I mean, I catch myself. I'm not willing to put Novak Djokovic to bed yet.
No, 3 to 1 right now, plus 300.
Right. That's not bad, to be honest.
The play tells you that he's not going to win it, and that he can't. But I'm not falling for it.
That DNA is still there.
I'm not falling for it.
It was kind of jarring to see him take this entry in Geneva, playing the week before any major, and getting those match toughness in. If he wins tomorrow, as we record this, he makes his first final of the year, which is kind of weird to say. But I just love the fact that he's going to get these match reps. And even if he's not his best, needing that, then going into Roland Garros, having that experience, because he's another guy, Brett, that if he gets to the second week of the tournament, I think it'd be tough to bet against what he's done in the past.
Right. And like 3 to 1, if he starts winning a couple, if he does well this week and then does well in this first round, those odds are going to come down quick, especially if some other people start dropping some of the other seeds. You said Ruud, he might play Ruud in the finals here. Ruud got him in Monte Carlo in that semi. So, but playing Joker 3 out of 5 is a different animal.
Oh, yeah.
Zverev's down there on the bottom if he's lucky to get through all the landmines and the semis. But, 3 to 1 on Djokovic, a guy who knows how to win more than all these other guys besides Rafa. It's tough, take it and maybe hedge later on when you get some matchups past the quarterfinals.
Yeah, I think the important thing there, too, is, Novak talked about it, right? He's been a lot of change with his team, right? He brought back his old fitness trainer, Gerhard Grisch, who he worked with for a long time. He said he's put in the work to be ready physically for the challenge of the French, right? So that's an important component, right? And that's something you can't overlook, the fact that when he gets in 3 out of 5 deep in tournaments, there's not too many people that are better.
Yeah, had a great chat with journalist Chris Clary, and he brought up a good point. These moves that are being made are moves of a guy that really is still engaged and wants to win. You would just ride it out if you're thinking, like, I'm not sure.
But what do you think? We were talking about it a little earlier in the week. He kind of does. It's hard to get motivated at this point.
Well,
he has so many records.
Who can relate other than like Tom Brady or like Michael Jordan? Like you can't, we can't. Nobody can relate.
Yeah. So because there's sometimes when he's out there and he kind of had bad body language. He went down 3-love yesterday to start the second, and then reeled off 6 straight games. We're almost looking like like, why is he even here sometimes? He's got nothing to prove. Everyone thinks he's kind of the GOAT anyway, but the fact that he's still out there and shuffling his team and going through all those things shows you how much he still cares.
I think the interesting thing and still the question mark is the coaching department, right? I mean, since he relieved Goran of his duties, Nenad Zimonjić, kind of an older brother, partial coach, not fully committed. He's not with him this week in Geneva. I think the coach is an important component because that coach has to be willing to take a lot of abuse. He's going to need somebody, to sound it out. Yeah. So I think that's going to be an interesting part as well, who he shows up with in Roland Garros with.
Well, before we move on to the women, I want to go over some of the first-round matchups, and we can kind of put a bow on the men and how the seeds will line up. But some interesting first-round matchups. Brett, Stan, and Murray, 23rd time, probably the last. Safe bet. Smart money is on the last time they're meeting. 13-9 Murray, but an interesting, and again, unfortunate that we're going to lose one so early, but good we're going to at least see this matchup one more
At least
time.
One of them gets to the second round, too. That's a good thing. They played, twice in semifinals there, I think?
Yeah.
Split them. So, I love both guys. Stan's a little bit of a favorite. I saw like minus 150 or something. But there's a lot of good matchups on the men's side, it seems like. Ruud has Mincic.
Oof,
That's a good one. I mean, obviously Nadal, Zverev.
I'll tell you, the one that stood out to me was De Minaur and Mickelson. Not just coming off the Fritz win this week, but...
And he beat him in Los Cabos earlier this year.
He did,
So, that's a good one. Let's see what else we got. Even like Holger Rune, Dirty Dan Evans. I mean, that's a good one.
I like Luka Van Ash, Shapovalov. I think that's a fun match. And, I think Van Ash last year, it might have been his coming out party. He won at least 1 or 2 matches here. And, the French crowd.
French guys in France, by the way, they play at least 2 levels better.
Yeah.
So you can throw the ranking out the window.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. We saw it with Monfils last year against Baez, where he loses that match probably in straight sets without the crowd carrying him.
He's got a good match. Sabuthe Field.
Yeah.
And then Fies Arnaldi. That's a good first
match.
round.
That's a fun
2 young
one.
guys.
There. The Aussie Fairkalkinakis Poprin. I saw that.
It's be a lot of big serve in there.
Yeah. And I have to give a shout to Holger Dan Evans. Could be chaotic.
I like that, though. I like Dan. I like watching his matches.
Well, he's got the perfect game to frustrate Rune, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, using the slice back in, a little bit of old school tennis.
Yeah.
Could frustrate the Dane.
This is a chance, too, for some of these young guys. We saw it in Australia. It's, the longest gap we have in this major season, 1-2. But, Arthur Cazot, who's playing at Echeverry, beat Holger in the first round in, I think, straight sets. But your chance to have a coming out party, and really it will tell us a lot about who can raise their level, who treats this as the biggest time of the year. And, bodes well if Mensik has a match or if Cazot keeps
Honestly,
it going.
I think this is probably going to be the most upsets we've seen at a major. I'd be shocked if we don't see a ton of upsets, right? All these names that you guys are bouncing around, they're all capable of getting hot, playing a high level of tennis, especially the young French guys, right? If they get the crowd behind them, they can make a run.
Yeah, we saw it. I mean, we saw it on the lesser extent in Italy, in Rome, with all the Italian players in the crowd there. Umber and Sonego, another good one to watch too, because that's a live one there. Well, as we kind of look at the seeds and where everything lines up, just want to go over what the prospective quarterfinals could look like. Again, there's probably going to be a lot of upsets in here, but Sinner and Hubie, BFFs on the same side in the quarterfinal section. You've got Rublev in the Alcaraz section. It'd be Djokovic, Ruud, and then it would be Medvedev taking on Zverev, but a lot of chaos there. So.
Right.
That would be a nice match.
You think they'd have a nice warm embrace at the net?
Yeah, they've got a good history.
Well, matchups and styles make fights. I mean, I think we all like combat sports to some degree, and you look at what happens, why these draws are so fascinating is sometimes you need like Ostapenko to take Iga out, and then,
I love Ostapenko.
Yeah, well, we're gonna get there for sure.
Well,
but
thoughts on Shelton? He's like the wild card in every tournament. I feel like he didn't show up this week so much in Geneva.
But he actually played well.
He played well
It took a really good match from Caboli, who's a talented player.
Yeah,
and you can kind of see Shelton is trying to figure it out. Right, he's made the commitment alongside with his team. And, the French is an interesting place because if you play on a warm day, you get successive warm days, it plays fast. It plays fast.
Right.
And now if the weather gets bad and it's cold, plays slow.
Slows down.
So Shelton is a type of player, depending on weather. I haven't seen the forecast for the fortnight, but, depending on weather, matchups, and we've seen early in his career, he's not afraid of the big stage. So, give that guy some momentum. Watch out.
Yeah, I haven't looked too far ahead at the draw, but I feel like Shelton versus a French player could be really, really fun. And a lot could happen in that match.
Well, you're going to get it in the opening round against Hugo Gaston.
Okay.
Is that who? Flashy, feisty lefty.
Wow. Could the crowd? Wow. I don't want to guess what the crowd, how the crowd will handle itself there. But for the Americans, you've got some people in there like Tommy Paul, Fritz, as we mentioned. Tiafoe needs to kind of recapture some magic. Korda, who I think might be distracted because his sister is like the best golfer of all time.
I mean, dude, her swing is amazing.
I don't have to tell you guys, you golf fans, that. But
I'm jealous for sure on that.
Too bad there's no talent in that family.
Right.
Peter is a great golfer too, right? Like, is that
not at that level?
Obviously,
no one is.
No.
By the way, we're not going to give Peter any props on the show.
Okay, that's it. We'll take that out. Last thing on the men before we switch to the women. Do you guys have double-digit seeds, or even lower if you want to get frisky, that you think, all right, deep run, this is a real opportunity?
Double-digit seeds, meaning
so
like
just
out
not
of 32 getting to like
So that in that 10 to 20 or
something.
20 to 30, fourth round, even quarterfinal potential.
I don't know. It's
in the men's.
Yeah, on the men's side,
definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to happen, right?
Yeah,
Mark, you said like the upsets
sure.
are going to happen, so we're going to see something.
Happen.
If Djokovic isn't into form, can Tommy Paul have his moment? Something like that. Other names out there that have kind of stood out to me. I mean, it's funny. Like we mentioned Korda, but a guy like Felix in that section, can these guys find it? Felix is one of, fun stat, right? Only 3 people have pushed Nadal to 5th sets at Roland Garros, and Felix is one of them.
Right.
Isner, Felix, Djokovic.
Right. And you're waiting for Felix to kind of get going. Like there was a stat, I don't know exactly, but he hadn't had like a top 50 or 60 win until a couple weeks ago when he went on that run. But yeah, it'd be nice to see him get back up there. Paul looked good. I mean, making that semi in Rome, I mean, that was surprising, don't you think? I mean,
he's comfortable on the red clay, so he can play well.
And he can grind. He can go, he's one of the best athletes out there.
I got a name too that just looking at the draw, how funny it would be and given the opportunity. A guy like Bublik.
Yeah. He won today.
He did win today. I'm saying and the section of the draw isn't as, crazy. Like, you'll see when he runs into, the Rafa, it's in that bottom section of the draw on the Medvedev side. So could be something. Or a guy like Alex de Minaur if he keeps it going and could have an unseeded run with some of these players. So again, Rafa Zverev first round, wild to see.
Yeah, it is.
Hope it's a long classic match.
Do we know what day it is yet?
Haven't seen that. No. By the time this goes out, it'll be all set in stone. But what day? I have a guess what court it's going to be on, though. I think I could make that bet.
The bull ring?
yeah, right. All right, more with Mark Knowles and Brett Connors here on Tennis Channel Inside In, talking Roland Garros 2024 draw is out. Going to the women's side, Mark, not really the bombshell at the level of Rafa and Zverev. I think that would have been impossible to get to, but we did see some interesting things on the women's side. Iga at the top could get Naomi Osaka in round 2, which would be fun, but the overwhelming favorite for obvious reasons. Iga looking like it seems to be smooth sailing. I probably would have said that for whatever her draw was, but pretty straightforward for Iga. She goes for her 4th Roland Garros title.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say anything different, right? As you mentioned, already got 3 Roland Garros titles. The way she's looked on the clay this year, obviously Sabalenka really the only one presenting somewhat of a challenge, but Iga looks really good. I think she's, we talked about this over the last, I think, like 18 months, right? Especially on the women's side, who was going to really embrace taking the mantle, and she's done that, right? There was a while there when no one really wanted it. Obviously, Ash Barty started to take that mantle, but then all of a sudden, the sudden retirement. But Iga Swiatek looks like she loves the role of being number 1, wants to rack up weeks at number 1. And, the way she moves on this surface, I think, separates her from the field.
Well, she's got the most ranking points she's ever had, and she's got the biggest gap between 1 and 2 she's ever had. So this is an ascending Iga, which is truly terrifying. That said, anything can happen in these tournaments, and I don't know when I would predict. It's almost like we're looking at how we talked about Rafa years ago. When is the slip up? Who could possibly get her? Sabalenka had been the one that maybe could, and full props to her for maintaining her number 2 ranking, staying on the other side of the draw. Again, it's going to take a lot. I see Collins in that section. She's always been the trendy pick, and she's maybe the 3rd best player right now in the world. Yeah,
she's playing. She won again today. She's in the semifinals of Strasbourg. I was a little surprised she played this week, but I feel like she's playing so good that she just wants to keep it going, and Clay against Iga, it's tough, but she's beaten Iga before, at a slam, I think. And, I like it. I like her story. It's pretty cool to see her, someone at the end of their career, even though she's, retiring, and when everyone says maybe she shouldn't, she's cool with it, and she's just ripping off wins now. Like, no one can beat her.
No, the only Sabalenka is the only one. Sabalenka and Iga. So should have beat her at Australia too. So that was wild.
What do you guys think about the clay with Sabby? It's a little slower there. Like, it feels like her best clay is usually, Madrid. Obviously, she played great in Rome too.
Sabalenka is an interesting one because she's been the most consistent player at majors the last 2 years, like even more than Iga. It's almost like for the betting side, like an auto bet to get to the quarterfinals or semis.
Yeah.
Doesn't quite look as comfortable. I think you make a good point with how the clay plays, like Rome and then maybe Roland Garros, but she's just so match tough, Mark. And other than Iga and that otherworldly level, she's another one where I'm like, at this stage in the game, how do you beat her? And does she have to beat herself to lose to someone ranked below her?
No, there's no question. She's a different player, right? Obviously, got the monkey off the back once she clinched the first Grand Slam title, backed it up. You can see she's a lot more comfortable now. Obviously, a great player, right? Tons of weapons, right? When you talk about people that can trouble Iga, you got to have weapons, right? You got to be able to dictate from the first strike. You got to be able to make Iga defend a lot. So Sabalenka, she's definitely at the top of the list there, someone that can trouble and take the title. Looking at the draw, Iga's draw looks really good. It
does, doesn't it?
Obviously you look and hope that Coco Gauff can maybe get far, and, she hasn't fared well in that matchup, but, with the right strategy and the right execution,
do you think
she can.
Do you think that matchup with her and Coco, like, is there something, obviously that there's, again, talent from Iga, but is there tactically things that she's maybe getting better, things you look at it from the bigger picture, like that might be her opening?
For Iga?
For Coco?
Yeah, listen, obviously it all starts with the forehand for Coco, right? She has more time, obviously, on the clay with the forehand, which can be to her detriment as well. There's a huge divide there when you look at the forehands between Iga and Coco. So, you have to overcome that obstacle if you're Coco. You got to serve really well, right? She's got a big first serve, one of the biggest first serves. Obviously, the second serve troubles her when she loses her rhythm. But, same type of thing. It would have to be, with her coaching team, it'd have to be a mindset like, hey, you know what? We got to be super aggressive. We got to go for it. We got to use the backhand up the line. You'd be willing to step into the court for a forehand, not wait on it. But, so far that matchup has been a very tricky one. But if you talk about athleticism, movement, somebody who can maybe match Iga's movement, probably Coco Gauff.
Well, you look at it, Sabalenka, Brett is plus 280, I saw, to make the final, which could be one to watch. Now Coco on the other side of the draw. Rybakina, the highest seed. Rybakina can beat her, but it's a matter of what fitness level. Rybakina's been had the injury and sickness bug a little bit this year. She's dangerous, though.
But she's a big tournament player.
Oh, yeah, when she turns it on. Yeah. Another one that's obviously has shown indoor clay can be a little more to her suit, but especially against Iga, Rybakina has proven that she can give her a harder time than practically anyone.
Yeah. And I think this is the side we're going to see a lot of upsets on, too. The women are going to be a lot of upsets. And if you look, it's so top-heavy with the odds. Iga minus 150. So she's like, you have to lay money.
I saw higher than that.
Yeah, have you? Yeah. Minus 150. So you have to lay money just for her to win 7 straight matches.
She's like, I think it's less than 4-1 to win without dropping a set.
Wow, that's crazy. And then you got Sabby 5-1, Rybakina 7, Coco 7.5. But that means she has to go through Iga. So those odds almost should be a little more.
That's one where I don't even know that you're going to get value when they play.
Maybe she wins her quarter is what you do with Coco.
Or just wait till that match if you really think Coco can beat her. Yeah. I don't know.
But then after that, it goes Collins 20, and then Mira Andreeva somehow it's 25-1. Like,
Well,
she's got potential, but it seems crazy. Then
Yeah.
Jabeur, then Zhang, then it falls off. Halep, and it goes.
I think that's one of like people trying to be first. Like she's a trendy teenager that we think could win, but it's like, okay, let's, they overvalue.
They're overvaluing
you overvalue
her
the young
potential.
players and the great players that are still on the top that you're thinking, oh, well, they're still there. So
Yeah.
I think that's where there's the market inefficiencies there. But
It's surprising to see her ahead of like Ostapenko, Svitolina, Kasatkina. Obviously, just bigger names with more Grand Slam success. But
And looking at this draw, I'm thinking a name here at the bottom. I think Emma Navarro, depending if she gets past Madison Keys, who's playing very well.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Emma has a nice game on the clay to trouble Sabalenka. I really do.
weapons are there, and I keep coming back to how she's so like low energy, like low pulse, in a positive way, where she never seems rattled. She's always calm out there, and that's a huge weapon to have.
beat Sabby at Indian Wells.
Yeah,
But also
biggest win.
her movement is
Really
special.
good now.
God, that Keys Navarro would be something.
That's a tough matchup for Navarro
yeah.
there. Madison playing very well.
Yeah,
Once
Keys
again,
has started to play well.
a lot of the French depends on the weather. You get faster conditions where that ball's bouncing, then Madison Keys is going to be a really tough out. If it's slow, heavy, then it swings to Navarro to be the favorite in that matchup against Keys.
I see
Longer rallies.
Maria Sakkari down there. I know it's a seated position, and I think she's in the 4,300 range, like a super long shot for her seed. Draw could be interesting if she gets Noskova though, because that could be one where I think she's another player to watch. And it's funny, Brett, I would kind of put her in the same realm as like probably even more accomplished right now than Andreeva, but the odds don't reflect that.
Right.
But that matchup could be, that could be, the gatekeeper to see who goes further. So another names to kind of look out for.
Yeah, Sakkari's a little bit of a wild card now. She's got her new coach, Witt.
Yeah.
So seems like he's kind of getting her back playing well. And she's good on the clay.
Yeah.
She made the semifinals. She was close to making that final that one time. And
Yeah. I saw Tom Hill working with Peyton Stearns and didn't realize that was a thing.
shout out Stearns. We down 5-love in the third today. Win 7 straight
5-love
games.
match point, right?
Yeah, had a match point.
So Mark,
7 straight games.
You're on the other side of the net, and that happens. Is it like therapy? What do we?
Honestly, I don't even know how that's possible, right? That is
Sabbatical.
That is deep scar tissue. I don't even know if therapy helps you.
Brett's
there.
going to Joshua Tree or something. Like I just
right.
got to
I'm out. Yeah.
I gotta. That's wow.
That's rough.
Props to Peyton Stearns though, and she does fight. I was at that Sabalenka match at Indian Wells, and that was remarkable.
Yeah, that was a tremendous atmosphere.
Other matchups that we like in the first round before we kind of put a bow on this and move forward. But I saw Svitolina Pliskova, some throwback names.
That's good.
Svitolina's level has been pretty high. She could have beat Aryna in Rome, and she's been battling a bunch out there.
Zhang Cornet in her last potential match.
So that's what we were joking about. That proves to you, like, if you want no shadow of a doubt to know that these draws are completely random, Cornet's final Roland Garros, and she gets Zhang. So,
Give her a seed.
That's another one that I saw.
Sloane
Good to
Putintseva.
see Andreescu back.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since we've seen Bianca Andreescu. She's going up against the Spaniard, Sorribes Atormo.
Yeah,
Put your clay shoes on.
That's good, yeah. And
Bolter and Badosa.
Bolter, Badosa, Iowa Tomjanovic back. It's Yastrzemska. And then I saw, what you were mentioning, Sloane and Putintseva could be, there could be some fireworks there.
That'll be on court for a while.
Right.
Yeah. It's interesting this time of year, especially with these matchups, because, and I just keep coming back to how the roles have flipped, where now there's a lot more chalk in the women's game, getting to the finals of these semifinals and finals of these tournaments, where the men might be the unpredictable side. Because for a while in the women's draw, we had unseeded semifinals. We were tracking that years ago, where you had like 7 or 8 straight unseeded semifinalists in the major.
I'll tell you what's a tough little section there is down there with Sabalenka, because you've got Badosa in there against Katie Bolter, the 26th seed, but then you got Sloane Stevens against Putintseva, which we talked about. Sloane obviously plays really well on clay. Yep. If she's focused and ready to play, there's some danger lurking there. And it seems like
that's true.
Badosa always end up in Sabalenka's section now.
Seems like
he's best friends forever.
Yeah, that's a good point. Paolini's another one too. Got to mention her playing the best tennis of her life by far, up to a 12 seed.
Ostapenko, Christian. That's pretty good. Chris John's been playing some good ball.
Is Jelena Ostapenko from the gambling side you're just forever sprinkle? Because I do feel like she can beat or lose to anyone.
Well, I feel like I always get suckered into betting on Sloane. Like I used to bet Sloane a lot because at one point I felt like she was a top 2 or 3 player in the world when she was. Ostapenko is tough because she is favored a lot. Like she's a top seed, and especially on the clay, she's pretty good. But she's a good live bet. Maybe she gets down, then the odds flip, then you don't have to lay anything. Then it's all right.
Yeah. A few more names I did want to mention. We'll see if Ons Jabeur can make a run. She's kind of had a tough time getting back, starting to show flashes of that. And another name I did want to mention, Haddad Maia, made the semis last year, gave Iga a really good match in the semifinals.
Yeah.
If she's clicking with her size and her weapon, especially that serve, I think this is a very dangerous player.
Yeah, I think once again it comes down a little bit to weather, right? Yeah. Exactly what you said. It gets faster conditions where she can hit through the court and maybe get Iga on the run. If that matchup comes to fruition, yes, she's got a chance, right? But you get 3, 4, 5 days of cold, heavy conditions, things change.
So looking at it from the bigger picture, like for Iga, would you say how the draw lines up, how it goes, her toughest match might be if she runs into Collins? That could end up being the toughest match for her in the tournament. I would have said Sabalenka going into Rome, maybe.
I'm still not there.
Okay.
As hot as Danielle Collins is, I just think on the clay, it's still a really tough matchup for Danielle. Obviously, I think it comes down once again. If for some reason it's playing really fast and it's hot, maybe she can first strike tennis, take her out of it, attack the second serve. But I'm not quite there. I think she'll have a tougher match. I mean,
So
if she does play like a Sabalenka or Rybakina or somebody.
So, and it's crazy because I'm looking at it like, could this be an RG on the women's side where it's chalk, where we get 1, 2, 3, 4 in the semis, which basically never happens? So who would be most likely? Obviously, Iga's probably not in this conversation, but Coco to lose early, Rybakina to lose early, maybe even Sabalenka.
Sabby has played a lot of tennis. I mean, she took this week off, and then she is in a tough little section down there. There's people down there who could be tough in a second, third round, I mean, we were talking about Iga Krejcikova, former champ. I mean, she has, remember like a year or so ago after Dubai?
She beat Iga, yeah.
Remember? And then she beat Sabby in the finals, and she came out and made that statement like it should be a big 4. Remember we were all talking, it was a big 3, and then she said that, and then like she's kind of gone away a little bit. She broke up with Siniakova, the doubles team. Yeah. So it seems like she's kind of trying to work her way back. Former champ. I mean, she hasn't played well lately, but if she gets Iga, that could be.
The thing about Coco is, that Coco's capable of losing if she loses the rhythm on her serve and her forehand. Excuse me. But you look at her draw, and it's a great draw, right? You look at Yastrzemska, somebody who's a power hitter, but too many unforced errors, the athleticism, the movement of Coco. That's a great matchup. You mentioned the player, Haddad Maia. Could Haddad Maia trouble Coco Gauff in the round of 16s? Ons Jabeur could be a possible quarterfinal. So the draw looks really good for Coco. So
it does.
I'm not really going to pick her to go down. Obviously, Rybakina, the 4th seed, a lot depends on her health. I think if Rybakina is going to lose, it's going to be early. Yeah. Once she gets her rhythm, she's going to play well.
Yeah. Well, and that might be one where we see them all make the quarterfinals, and then.
I mean, I think the toughest road is Sabalenka. I mean, you've got some danger in there with people like Sloane Stephens, Badosa, and then as far as seeds, I mentioned, whether it's Madison Keys or Emma Navarro, I think that's a tough little section.
I mean, the unpredictability of this tournament is always great. You never really know, and I guess we can kind of end on this, Mark, looking at.
Wait, we do know everything, Mitch.
We do know everything. We do. But I wanted to just kind of get a grade because you've been, a top seed on the doubles side in some of these events. And is there anything from the outside, that tough match early as like the wake up call? I'm in the zone now, or I mean, obviously you could ease into it with some easier matches, but. That argument of a tough match early versus
100%. I mean, I think people talk about it all the time, right? Of course, you'd like to go through a tournament and win every match easily. Yeah. But if you are challenged early and kind of get through, maybe save a match point or a really tight match, it kind of does give you a quick little jolt. Like, okay, that was my wake up call. Now, I've got new life. I'm going to kind of take advantage of. I mean, we've seen it, right? I mean. Yeah. Nothing bigger than the Becker-Rastano match. We've seen it happen many times,
That's
right?
That's a throwback. Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with a competitive match early, but I would assume that most players would take they would take 7 straight set wins if they could.
Yeah. No, I mean, if Zverev beats Nadal, he's going to be riding high. That doesn't take too much out of him physically, of course, but like you have to raise your level. Your attention's up too.
Right.
You can't afford to
be careful
sleepwalk.
for a letdown.
Yeah.
What do you think about all these tournaments being 2 weeks? I was talking to my pops on our podcast that we do, and he, he was like, well, Roland Garros is 2 weeks. It's different. I was like, a lot of tournaments are 2 weeks now, Do you think that plays into any different, having played like a bunch of 2-week tournaments already this year?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, obviously, right? With the new change of format on the men's tour with the 12-day events, coming off Madrid and Rome, 12-day events, so essentially 2-week events, as you mentioned. It's a little different, right? Because as your dad mentioned, it was a differentiator, right? Slams were the only ones that were 2 weeks. I think it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what the top players feel as far as, does this make them a little bit more accustomed to it, or do they not like it, right? It's kind of interesting, always getting that day off as opposed to before it was kind of packed in a little bit. 2 out of 3 sets playing every day, but, now it's 3 out of 5 playing every other day. It'll be interesting to see, and, it'll be interesting to see if it affects the players in any way.
Yeah, I think obviously players are never going to fully agree on everything. Certain players like it, certain don't. I just hope that we see players still, prioritizing some of these events, and just want to see them on the court, not injured, obviously, is the big thing. But Mark, before I let you go, you brought up something else I wanted to get your opinion on. As the guy, the new doubles format that we've seen, what are your thoughts on it? Areas you like, areas you might not like?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good, right? I don't know if they've landed on the perfect scenario, but the doubles guys have been really good as far as trying new things, realizing, I think the doubles game is an important part of the sport, right? And I think that's the important part. But I also feel like they're overlooked, right? And the doubles product is an entertaining one, but let's face it, it's never shown on TV. They don't get any props. So I think the more that we can get singles guys playing, the better, because the top doubles players are the best at their discipline. And I think it's important for the viewers to understand that. But I also think that allowing more singles guys to play, which is it's a big thing for me, is that it gives them another revenue stream, right? If you think about, we've talked for years about guys ranked 60 to 150, tough to make a living, tough to afford, to travel with a coach and so forth. Now, if those guys can also get some more doubles opportunities, say they lose first, second round of a Masters series, they can stick around, play doubles. And I think even for the doubles guys, starting later helps, right? Because they find themselves on site, hanging out for 4 or 5 days. And I think it really makes the start of the tournament super congested, right? You get tons of singles players, especially with the combined events. With those guys coming in a little bit later, and I was actually in Rome. It was a drastic difference as far as, sorry, I wasn't in Rome. I was in Madrid. Somewhat same European city. I was close, right?
Masters event, similar.
I was in Madrid, and with the new doubles format, there were no doubles guys around, right? We had our ATP meetings and so forth. Nobody was there yet. So you could see the practice courts were a little bit easier, the lounge, the restaurant, because you're talking about a lot of bodies. So I've talked to a couple of doubles guys. They seem to like it. But like I said, they're going to try a couple of different things. The key for me is that I want the doubles game promoted, right? I mean, the reality is those guys make good money, so forth. But, we don't really highlight the doubles, do we? I mean, Tennis Channel does a good job of showing the doubles. Outside of that, it's a rarity to see doubles, and it's a really wonderful sport. And my take on it is, and don't get mad at me, but I mean, if we can promote pickleball, surely we can promote men's doubles.
Yeah, we'll leave
Shots
that.
fired.
Yeah. Well, apologies to any sponsors out there that were trying to get a pickleball deal. No, I think that's a fair point. I think having singles players in the mix is good. You get that rub too. You're not alienating doubles. Everyone can rise up, and that revenue stream can be big. I also like, having some fan movement. I've always been a fan of that. I think it's good to kind of.
Well, I think it should be a different product. I mean, like I said, you mentioned pickleball, right? You go, it's fun. There's music. There's lots of things going, right? You've got to be open to it, right? And the reality is, doubles is very little time that the ball's in play, right? They're incredibly skilled. It's quick. It's fast. So, fan movement. Maybe even you go as far as get a little DJ going.
I like it.
You got it's all about the consumer at the end, right? It's about the consumer. You want them to fill the seats. You want them to contribute money to your sport. And so I think, but like I said, the doubles guys have been good. They've been open. They realize that, some changes need to be made. And the other thing that's important is listen, based on the way the game is, you're never going to get a consistent Djokovic, Sinner, Alcaraz playing doubles. It's impossible, right? As tough as it is. But you are going to get Auger Aliassime, Shapovalov, those guys, especially if you think about a guy like FAA, who's played a lot of doubles, hasn't played as well in singles over the last 12 months. Then he has the ability, you know what, if he loses early in a Masters, go, you know what? Hey, it's only 5 days long. It's going to finish on Friday. It's not going to interfere with my week after for singles preparation. I'm going to play the doubles. Like, I enjoy doubles. We've seen Hubert Hurkacz play a little bit, right? So, and I think it's important because fans, they like touch points, right? It's hard to promote when they're not familiar with the names.
For sure. I think it's good to get those old school Connors, Nastasi doubles teams.
And most people play doubles. Like, your average people at home at the club and stuff play doubles. And like you said, for the guys who, in the second tier who won't play, like the best guys won't play, but the other guys can play when they need to get better. Yeah, a lot of guys use it to get better at volleying and, moving
Madrid,
forward.
you saw, right? Korda and Thompson came through, right? So Thompson's a prime example of what I was talking about, a guy who, generally, he's gotten up to probably 30, 35 in the world, but generally he's been around 60, 70 in the world. All of a sudden, you get a chance to play a Masters series. It's a big paycheck. By
it
the
really
way.
is.
It's I don't know, probably $250,000. It's a lot of money.
Good day.
That helps him then go, you know what? I'm going to go coach and physio for singles, right? I've got some money in my pocket. Boom. So I think that's important, right? Yeah, because I think the key thing is if you talk to the term guys, if you talk to everybody, nobody wants to kill doubles. Right? Yeah. They don't. It's a part of our sport. You've got it in Davis Cup. You've got it in the Olympics. It's not going away in the majors. So you just got to find a way to make it the best product you possibly can.
Well said. Yeah. I think it's exciting. And I'm excited for this Roland Garros. It's going to be a blast. Brett Connors, pleasure. Mark Knowles, pleasure.
Money.
Are you going with the Mavericks to win the title? I was going to ask you. I feel like you're a Mavericks guy.
Kyrie.
Now.
I mean, I'm a Lakers fan for life, right? I'm a Lakers guy, but obviously I like the Mavs. And listen, they're exciting, right? It didn't get any better than Doncic and Kyrie. Pretty sick.
Oh, and you got the Dirk connection with his tennis event. So I know you're Lakers first, but Dallas is like your secondary team. And
being tight with Dirk, I gotta be a Mavs fan too. So don't give me a hard time, Laker fans out there. But let's go Mavs. I know you're. What about hockey with Stars? Don't forget Dallas is the spot these days.
Dallas is really good, and
as long as you're not a Cowboys fan, everything's good in Dallas.
Got to go to Cool River when the game's over.
It's like season since conference final appearance. It's like 0-0-0-28 for the Cowboys. So everybody else pulling their weight. Mark Knowles, Brett Connors. Appreciate you guys coming on Tennis Channel Inside In.
Thanks,
Mitch.